All right, let's talk about one of the most confusing topics out there. What should we actually be eating? You hear so much noise, so many fads and headlines. Today, we're going to cut through all that and dig into the real science behind our food.
You know, if you feel like you're getting nutritional whiplash, you are definitely not alone. I mean, one day it's all about plants, the next day it's all about keto or animal-based diets. It is so confusing. So today we are going to try and get to the bottom of it. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at how our food itself has changed, over time. Then we'll dive into the two big arguments, plant-based versus animal-based. After that, we're going to uncover a pretty surprising villain in this whole story, and we'll wrap up with what might be the real goal for long-term health. Okay, so let's jump right in our modern food problem. The big question is, have we basically engineered the health right out of our food? I mean, is the apple you eat today anything like the fruit our ancestors ate? So you've probably heard this idea before, right? That ancient fruit was tiny and bitter, nothing like the giant, super sweet stuff we find in our supermarkets? Well, it turns out that's not exactly the whole story. Nature, especially in the tropics, where we humans evolved, is perfectly capable of making incredibly large and sugary fruit all on its own. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. This slide shows us where the real differences are. It's not just about the sugar. See, we've bred modern fruit for maximum sweetness and size, but in that process, we've lost so much. The fiber content, way down. The nutrient density, it's been diluted. And of course, we can get it year-round, not just seasonally. But maybe the most important thing here, look at that last line. The amount of phytonutrients, those amazing protective compounds in plants, has absolutely plummeted. We're talking 6 to 100 times less. That's a huge difference. So with that in mind, let's see how this all feeds into the first big dietary philosophy, the powerful, evidence-backed case for eating more plants. This is what you might call conventional wisdom. And yeah, this slide is basically the greatest hits album for why we're always told to eat our veggies. You've got fiber, which feeds our good gut bacteria and helps reduce inflammation. Plants give us essential vitamins we can't get elsewhere, like vitamin C. And they're just packed with these unique compounds called phytochemicals that help protect us from disease. Plus, some studies show that certain fibers can even help our body handle sugar better. It's a pretty strong case. But here's the twist. What if just eating a nutrient isn't enough? What if your body can't actually use a lot of the nutrients that you find in plants? This brings us to a very different and pretty controversial counterargument, the animal-based advantage. And that brings us to this absolutely crucial idea, bioavailability. It sounds complicated, but it's a really simple concept. It's not about what you eat, it's about what you get. It's the difference between the nutrients on your plate and how much of that good stuff your body can actually absorb and put to work. This is where the animal-based argument gets really, really compelling. Just look at vitamin A. The form we get from plants, beta-carotene, our body has to convert it, and we only end up absorbing about 15% of it. But the preformed version we get from animal foods, retinol, we get about 74% of that. And for vitamin B12, well, it's not even a contest. You just can't really find it in plant foods in a form our bodies can use. And the argument doesn't stop there. It also points out that a lot of plants have something called anti-nutrients. Now, these are compounds like phytates and oxalates that can actually bind to important minerals like iron and zinc and calcium right in your gut and basically block your body from absorbing them. So you eat the mineral, but you don't actually get the benefit. Okay, so we have these two camps, and they seem to be totally at war. Plants versus animals. But what if they're both kind of missing the point? What if the real enemy isn't a whole food group at all, but a specific type of sugar that's hiding in plain sight? This quote from Dr. Robert Lustig is, wow, it's a really powerful way to think about the problem with fructose. Fructose is the sugar in fruit, but it's also in super high concentrations in processed foods. And the reason he makes this shocking comparison is because, metabolically, the way your liver processes fructose is remarkably similar to how it processes ethanol. The alcohol in a drink. And here is the absolute key difference. Glucose, that's the other half of table sugar, can be used for energy by pretty much every single cell in your body. It's our universal fuel. Fructose, though, it's different. Most of your cells can't use it directly. So where does it go? Almost all of it gets sent straight to your liver to be processed. And this puts a really unique, really intense burden on just one organ. So this slide shows you exactly what happens when that burden becomes too much. First, you get an overload, When you consume a lot of fructose, especially in liquid form like a soda or juice, it just floods the liver all at once. The liver gets overwhelmed, and its emergency response is to convert that excess fructose into fat. That process is called de novo lipogenesis, which literally means making new fat. And then that newly made fat just accumulates. It gets stored right there in the liver, leading to a condition called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or NAFLD.
And listen, this is not some rare, obscure disease. This is a condition that, not too long ago, was found almost exclusively in alcoholics. But today, that number, 40%, that's the rate of fatty liver disease in children with obesity. Let that sink in. It's become a silent epidemic, and it's being driven by what we eat. So, if the real fight isn't between team plant and team meat, if it's actually about our metabolism breaking down, then the solution isn't about picking a side in a food war. The real solution is about building a stronger, more resilient body from the inside out.
And that brings us to the ultimate goal, a concept called metabolic flexibility. The best way to think about it is like a hybrid car that can just seamlessly switch between using gas and using electricity. A metabolically flexible body does the same thing. It can efficiently switch between burning carbohydrates for quick energy and burning fat for steady, long-lasting fuel, depending on what's available.
And you can see the difference right here on this slide, crystal clear. When you're flexible, your energy is stable, you feel good, and you can easily tap into your body fat for fuel. But when you become inflexible, you get stuck in sugar burning mode. And that's when you get those awful afternoon energy crashes, the constant cravings for more sugar, and over time that whole cycle leads to insulin resistance, which is really the root cause of so many of our modern health problems.
So the real takeaway here is this. It's not about trying to be the perfect vegan or the perfect carnivore. It's not about dietary dogma. It's about making choices, day in and day out, that restore your body's amazing natural ability to handle whatever fuel you give it.
And that really leaves us with a final question to completely reframe this whole conversation. Maybe the most important question we can ask about our diet isn't which foods are good or bad, but instead, how do I improve my own metabolic flexibility? How do I build a body that's resilient enough to thrive in this crazy modern world?